Hi everybody, I'm Tim with the Home Improvement Gallery. We're going to show you how to trim pocket doors. Alright, so once you're done cleaning this side, you also want to check the sheetrock, make sure it's flush here. Like as you can see here, it is flush, but up here it is not. So you need to just take your standard old box knife and just cut that sheetrock back. And it doesn't have to be perfect because the trim will cover it later on. Go ahead and cut it off. Going to be doing the door jamb, and we will go through all that. There's a lot of little details you got to go through as you're working on it. So the first things first is you want to make sure the surface is clean before you even start anything, before you start cutting the door jambs or anything. As you can see on here, there's nails sticking out, so you want to hammer that in. Yeah, there's a couple of nails, so go ahead and hammer those in. Make sure it's smooth. Next thing you need to make sure you have is a 6-foot level, because that will help you make sure your wall is level. So I'll go ahead and check for the levelness. And it is just a little bit off, so we'll just have to put just a little shim in there. So the next thing you're gonna need to finish out the door jamb is your standard just 1x4 door jambs. And they come in and they're primed, so you will have to paint them, but they are primed already for you. So the next step would be to get your measurements. So the first thing I do is I push the door all the way back, because you can see this gap in between both of them. And what your goal is here is to keep this line straight with your trim, but that's also going to keep your door from closing all awkwardly and making it smooth. So I'm going to go ahead and get my measurements and move on to the next part. Now remember, if you are going to put carpet down, you want to subtract a 1/4 inch from the floor so there's room for the carpet guys to stuff the carpet underneath the trim. That'd be the only exception. Other than that, you're going to the floor. So take those ceiling measurements. So the next thing you have to measure, because it's 1x4, you will have to rip it. So you need to take a look at your door. You want to measure this pocket door stud plus this sheetrock to get that measurement, which in this case it is 1.25 inches. To keep the door sturdy, add 1/4 inch to that. So we will have 1.5 inches piece of board to rip. So I'll go ahead and measure this side just to make sure it's the same, which it should be the same, but you just never know, so you always want to measure. Now on this one, I did not add for this one, for the top part, because there's a track up here and you want to keep it away from it. You just want it to sit right there. And then the next part is going to be this door jamb here. It comes just standard too. We'll just have to cut it to length. But the thickness of this wall, as long as it's just your standard 2x4 plus the 2 pieces of sheetrock, is going to equal 4.5 inches. You got what? A 2x4 is actually 3.5 inches plus 1/2 inch plus 1/2 inch on your sheetrock equals 4.5 inches. And that's what this equals, 4.5 inches. So the only thing, you want to double check that though to make sure you won't have to rip it, because sometimes you run different circumstances. You have to treat it differently. In this case, it's all standard. So all we'll have to do is just measure from floor to ceiling, and we'll cut that, and we'll install all that stuff. Okay, now you gotta remember, there is this top board up here that you're gonna put. Now, if you're a beginner, I would suggest to do it piece by piece. Go ahead and staple these pieces on, and then go ahead and measure for this. Just if you watch the whole video, you kind of understand what I'm talking about. In my case, I like to add, the thickness of this door jamb is 5/8. So I measure the full distance and I subtract 5/8, and that's my cut. Alright, we got all our pieces cut. We're back here at the door. The next step would be to make sure the door itself appears to be level, which we've already checked the walls. They are level, but you know, there's wheels up here that you can adjust that kind of tweaks the door a little bit. So you want to make sure, now don't roll the track off, which we'll get to that in a second, because it's supposed to stop right about there. You want to check this line out right here and make sure it's pretty straight. The reveal is what they call that. As long as that's straight. If it's not straight, you want to adjust the wheels. If it is straight, you're good to go. Before you start trimming out, you want to do that. We're going to go ahead and get this trim stapled up there using a brad nailer here. Using an air compressor and a brad nailer with 1 1/4" staples. That's all that holds the trim up. Now with these pocket doors, the trick is, if you bring the door all the way over here, it's just going to fall out the track. It's made that way, so what we do now with this gap is I get it right to where it needs to be, right there so it doesn't fall out, and I get that measurement. In this case, we'll have to use just some OS to fur it out just a little bit to make up 1 inch is what we need. That's 1/2 inch, this is 1/2 inch, we got our inch. We'll also use shims at that point to level this out. If it's off just a little bit, just little shims. And then that's it. Put the OSB shims back here, and the next thing you want to do is, after you get the OSB on, put this piece on it to dry fit it. Don't staple nothing yet. You want to close the door and check what's called the reveal. The reveal here, as you can see, when we pull this tight, there's no gap at the bottom, and then there's a gap at the top. So we'll have to shim the top. So since the bottom is okay, I'm going to go ahead and throw a staple in there so it's not moving around on me, and then we'll shim out the top and we'll show you that. Action. Alright, so we got all our pieces nailed up. They're stapled in it. So the next thing you know is you're going to cut these shims off, because the next step would be to measure out the casing and finish up the trim, and then we'll Alright, we got all 4 of our pieces cut so far. I'm gonna go ahead and tack these on. You can start whichever side you like. Trim from left to right, typically. You kind of want to dry fit them first just to make sure. Check that reveal. You want to keep it about 1/8 of an inch. And then go ahead and tack one in there. Okay. Now that you got that, now you kind of work it down and keep that line about the same. Which is, you can kind of tell the trim's bowed a little bit. After you get this piece nailed on there, you want to take the next piece that you got cut and dry fit it on there. And if you're working by yourself, some people do it this way, some people do it the other way. It's your choice. You need to tap this in where it needs to be and then measure that for both 45s. Or you can, if you're working by yourself, sometimes it's a little easier to kind of get it into position where it needs to go. Remember to leave your reveal about 1/8 of an inch and then mark it right where it's at. Now you have your mark where that 45 is going to go. Remember, you want the lowest inside corners because your blade does the rest of the work for you. So measure right at the bottom, so right to that line. 35. So now we're going to cut that and finish putting it back together. Now we got that piece cut. Take both of them together. That's sure it's gonna work. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and caulk the lines for you guys and put it to stable holes. So let me get what I need. Alright, so all you need to do to finish the door is just white dab, paintable, make sure it's paintable, don't get the silicone because it's not paintable, 100% silicone is not paintable. And then to fill in the holes, I use lightweight Spackling, and that's because it doesn't expand and contrast. It's going to stay in there when you paint over it, you can't even see it. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing that. now that we wrap this up, I'm Tim from Home from the Gallery, and come back to our channel for more how-to videos.